Hey everyone, for this month's video I felt like I had to talk about something that has been bugging me way too much as of late. It's been in the back of my mind for a while now, but I really needed to voice my opinion after watching the new Cruella movie. So, let's talk about Disney. The studio that shaped and created not only mine, but millions of other people's childhoods. The studio known for its wondrous and magical films. 10 years ago, these were basically the statements someone would make. But nowadays, to most people, it's also known as the multi-million-dollar company. The company that has been losing the magical element as the years go by. The company that owns the rights to so many other companies. And the company that is known for making, these films? I think that's what they're supposed to be. But nevertheless, if you're watching me for the first time, then hi, welcome. I usually don't make videos like this. I'm mostly known as the guy who likes to animate stuff and create other stuff. Yeah, but I might do some other things a few times in this mess of a channel, just like now. So if you can't tell already, I'm a huge animation and film fanatic. So this probably affects me a bit more than the average person. In fact, I consider Disney one of the reasons why I was inspired to make cartoons in the first place. If you're one of the people that don't really know what's going on with Disney in recent years, then don't worry, I'm not just planning on rambling for 20 minutes on a topic that you probably don't even care about. If you don't really know or care about this, then let me summarize things a bit for you and take things a step back and talk about the origins of Disney. So, the Walt Disney Company was founded by, of course, Walt Disney himself and his brother Roy Oliver Disney back in 1923 in a small office in Los Angeles. It was there that the brothers produced a live-action / animated series called the Alice Comedies, which you could rent by paying $10 a month. That was how they started, just a small group of talented artists coming together and combining the skills to entertain. After 4 years of working on the Alice Comedies, Walt Disney started creating other types of cartoons. In the process, they created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and the world's famous Mickey Mouse, who made his premiere appearance in the 1928 cartoon Steamboat Willie. Which is actually where that intro of Mickey whistling came from in the newer movies. Anyway, moving on. As Disney went on, they started biggering the group, they got a new office, they created their new show called Silly Symphony, and created some other really iconic characters, such as Donald Duck, Pluto, and many others. So I guess I should say things were looking pretty good. Cut to 1937, and Disney created the first ever fully length animated movie of all time, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which made over $418 million. This is where Disney basically became the pop culture icon. They had become the center of attention. After their massive success, Disney continued to work on animated films. They continued working on the Silly Symphony cartoons, but films became their #1 priority. Throughout the years, they made some of the most iconic animated films to date, such as Pinocchio, Fantasia, Bambi, Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Cinderella, and some of my personal favorites, 101 Dalmatians and The Jungle Book. After many years of successes, Disney is pretty much too big to fail. Walt Disney was involved in so many other things that animation became less of his time. He had theme parks, he had television, and so many other things that overshadowed his attention to the movies. And after so much he had done for the company, Walt Disney sadly passed away back in 1966 at age 65. The 70s were a rather forgettable decade for Disney's films. Not saying that they made bad movies, it's just that the general public, I guess, didn't really care about the movies they made at that period. That was a bit of a bump for them, but I guess they got back on track soon enough in the 80s. This is where things take the downward spiral. The year is 1995, and Pixar joins the party with the first computer-generated animated film, Toy Story. And here we are, in the somewhat present, the 2000s. Pixar basically released some of their most iconic films, while Disney seemed to be struggling quite a bit with their movies. They released movies that were pretty good, but didn't really do so well in the box office. The 2000s were a pretty great decade for Pixar, but a horrible one for Disney. This decade marked the death of traditional 2D animated films and the change of Disney's way of work. We'll get to that in a bit. Fun fact about life, people are dying and being born every day. Yeah, pretty much Disney's staff and crew had completely changed by that point. Disney's current CEO, Bob Iger, who joined in 2005, I guess didn't really care about Disney as a company that made good films. Okay, I guess we should talk about Bob Iger for a bit. Okay, so Bob Iger is, I guess, considered one of the best Disney CEOs of all time. People tend to really like him because of his big milestones he did for the company. He bought Pixar from Steve Jobs, he bought Marvel, he bought Lucasfilm, he launched Disney Plus, he expanded Disney parks to China, and he bought 20th Century Fox. Now listen, I have nothing against him. Indeed, he did plenty of stuff with the company, but I think that because he focused a bit too much on making money, I think he didn't really focus on the creative side. Just like Walt Disney all those years ago, he had many responsibilities outside of the creative side. Theme parks, television, Disney Plus, all that stuff. But Walt Disney tried to not give in to that. He really wanted to continue making movies.
People were always saying to Walt, forget about the animation. You know, you're in television now. You're making live action movies. You've got a theme park. But Walt Disney had to make animated films because that's what he did. But how to do it cheaper?
Basically, this is where Disney starts to become what it is today. It stops being a studio that focuses on making passionate and great films, and becomes the studio that tries to make as much money as possible. Soon enough, the quality of their movies dropped. They basically started making CG animated films themselves, since, you know, they were sort of the big thing back then, and made lots of money. This is just a taste of what was to come. Remember, Disney is now focused on making money, not on necessarily making good films. After some time, they got the hang of their now CG animated films by Walt Disney Animation Studios, and thankfully made some really good ones in my opinion. And then the Alice in Wonderland remake happened. And it was a success. Oh god, you know what that means. By the way, yes, I know that they made the 101 Dalmatians one first, but I'm assuming that they didn't start from there because that movie didn't really do so well in comparison to the other ones. Anyway, after making a fair share of these, they must have realized that they don't really need to try anymore. And it's true. Again, as I said before, the Walt Disney Company is too big to fail. They can release sequel after sequel, remake after remake, and everything's fine. People will pay to watch it anyways, so what's the matter? Don't you see? It's an easy way for them to make money. They just recycle old successful projects and package them differently, which I guess I can respect from a business perspective, but I don't really agree with it, since I personally believe that this thinking may or may not affect the quality of future movies in general. Many people nowadays tend to blame directors or writers for being the reason that a movie came out bad, but that isn't always the reality. Sometimes, but most times nowadays actually, it's the studio's fault. Let's talk a bit about Spider-Man 3, a movie that critics and fans were disappointed in. I know this isn't Disney related, but you'll see where I'm getting at, hopefully. Sam Raimi, the director, had a vision for the film, and that vision was interfered by the executive producer of the film. He wanted to upgrade his story into something that could make more money, more monetizable, I guess. Is that the right expression? I think. And of course, Sam Raimi had to accept. You can't say no to your producer. He is the person funding the film, so, I mean, in the end of the day, he can do what he wants. Look how that turned out. Some of you may think, but Jimmy, it's a different studio. You just told us that Disney is the company who's willing to ruin movies like that. I didn't say that Disney began it. I'm just saying that Disney is doing it more frequently than anyone at this point. The sad thing about the day is that most companies are like this. They just focus on making money. If they see how Disney's formula is making them billions, then, well, of course they're gonna do it too. See where I'm getting at? I don't know about you, but it's just sad to me. A director shouldn't be told what he needs to do. At the end of the day, it's his job to guide the film towards the right path, not the studio's. This is why I admire filmmakers like George Lucas so much. It's because they are willing to fight for their independence. They are willing to do whatever in order for something like this to not happen to them. Anyway, I'm getting off track. My point with this is that if all studios learn to work like that, then the quality of the movies will drop massively. Cinema is firstly and most importantly an art form, and secondly, a way to make money. I know I sound like a child talking about this, but if you think about it, it really is a problem. At the end of the day, this is just my opinion, so you can agree or disagree with me in any way, shape, or form. But personally, I feel a bit annoyed that on IMDb the Cruella movie has a score higher than the original. Like, this is ranked higher than the original movie.
This is, let's face it, garbage.
If we take a look at the possible program in future films, they're now planning on trying something original until making a mountain full of original content. I guess that's what it is, content. And the company that made these great films back in the day has no more intentions of making a good one. And the worst part is that no one really cares anymore. As long as people keep paying to see these movies, then there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. And when they ran out of movies, it's no big deal. They'll just start doing the same with Pixar films. Since, they own them. Literally. And that is something I hope I never experience. Unless people get real bored of unoriginality, then there's no reason for them to attempt at telling new, creative, and magical stories to succeed. I don't know, things might change. I hope that in the future things get better. Hell, I'd love for things to get better. But for now, I feel like nothing's going to change, for a long time at least. It's not all bad news though, I guess. Pixar has been doing pretty good. I went to see Luca a couple days ago and I think that it was pretty great. The MCU has been fine considering the fact that Disney hasn't really messed with them. And again, this is my opinion. That was all I had to say. I know this is my usual content. I hope I didn't bore you with this video, but I just had to get this off my system. I'll try to make something more interesting next time. So, see ya guys.